Hello, 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 Facebook family. How are you this April the 24th? I believe it's the 24th. Yeah, April the 24th. We're getting ready to end this month, this weekend. This year is beginning to take his mood and moving on. Tonight, guys, we're going to talk about why did we leave church. But first, I want to do disclaimer because this is not going to be to for everyone, and it's not going to be something that we're condoning for people to do. Okay, this is just a conversation and just some personal opinions on things. Okay, so the disclaimer: this platform discusses any and all information that is known to the public and that are opinions of the host and guests. We use sources that are unconventional and conventional. Bridging through conversations is in no way to be offensive to any persons, groups, or organizations. It creates open conversations needed to close gaps in topics others may not be willing to discuss. The information is alleged to others, but are our truths to have an open conversations. Okay, guys? So let's get this thing on the road here. Hello, 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 guys. Hello, hello. I'm going to start this thing out tonight. First of all, I just want to say that to everyone out there, um, register to vote before November comes. I think we're going to have another election in November. Please register to vote and for the year 2024, and you make the decision on who you want to vote for. But please, please, please make sure that you evaluate everybody: Democrats, Republicans, Independents, and whatever the other one may be. It's your decision on who you decide to vote on, but please vote, vote, vote. We got so much stuff going on in this world today, and we need to make sure that we have a steady mind, and that we are woke. People, some states want to talk about this woke thing, but I am encouraging you to stay woke. I'm encouraging you to always have critical thinking about topics and about things that's going on in the world, and read books. I remember when I don't even know if they do that anymore, about the educational thing that used to come on with Lou Ross. And he used to say that mind is a terrible thing, to waste, and meaning that, we need to be educated. We need to be educated on all things as a whole, right? And I am most definitely into education. I love, as a matter of fact, I'm still in school. I love school. I love learning. I love reading. I have so many books in here that some of them they have read, and I need to complete a lot of them. But I just love to learn about different things, and I encourage you. I encourage you to tell your children to also pick up a book and read. Never be uneducated about what's going on in this world. Please, please know your history and know others' history. Be able to make it a holistic thing in history, and just be educated, be woke. I'm gonna find an acronym for that. If anybody have a good acronym for woke, put it in the comments. I love doing acronyms, and I just thought about it. I'm gonna do an acronym on that and do something about being woke and being educated, and make sure that you know what, the most important thing is that you learn critical thinking. If you learn critical thinking, then you won't fall for anything, right? You will be able to think for yourself and have a great debate. That's one thing that one of my nephews, I think he's smart as a whip, and I really I'm gonna get in the topic, y'all. And I really hope that he go, to be a lawyer, because he's a great debater, right? And I think to be able to be a great debater, you got to be educated. You got to make sure that you read and you know what you're talking about. So let's make sure that we stay woke. Okay. All right. Now, let me get on this topic tonight, and we'll be waiting on Tasha to come in a few. Okay. I think she's out there watching. So and she's going to be in when she gets settled. Okay. But, guys, for the 2018 until, as a matter of fact, January, the second Sunday in January as of 2023. I stopped I stopped going to church, which my husband is the pastor of the church, and I stopped going to church. It's a number of reasons, and a lot of people would say, you're supposed to support your husband, you're supposed to be behind him, as the first lady. But um, you got to take care of yourself. I think a lot of people just keep going and going and going, in our worship places, and never really take the time to work on yourself, right? You just go and you tell other people, how to live their life and what to do, and how to make things work out in a holistic way according on the Bible, right? But sometimes you don't never look in the mirror at yourself, right? You got to begin to look at yourself. And you know what? That's in all areas of life. Even as a doctor, as a nurse, I was visiting someone today, and they were a nurse, and one thing that they said is that I took care of so many other people, but I failed to take care of myself, right? And so when you in ministry, when you in whatever you're doing, whatever walk of life you're in, whatever you're doing, always take the time to pull back and look in the mirror and begin to see if you're falling apart. Because sometimes you're falling apart and you don't realize it because you're so busy helping everybody else and in everybody else's business that you don't even get into your business, right? And some people felt negative, and they said a lot of mean things to me, which it if I would not have been thinking about taking care of myself, it would have been another log on the fire, right? That would have sunk me farther down than where I was, right? So, hey, sweetie, how you doing? Let me see who is that. Hey, Reggie, I miss you. I miss you, Reggie. I be seeing you on there online, and I always try to respond to you if you have anything out there. Happy belated birthday and all that good stuff. Tell your brother I said hello, okay? So yeah, we have to take care of ourselves. We tend to forget about self, and always worrying about want to help other people, because the thing is, you're the sheep, you're the shepherd, and you should always take care of your sheep. If one goes astray, then you need to leave the 99 and go out there and get that one, and bring it back in, right? But what about you? What about yourself? What about if you fallen on the wayside and you need some help, right? Who gonna take care of you? You can take care of you. You got to take care of you. And that's what I failed to do that. And then it was a lot of other things that fell on top of it, where it was it's so demanding, right? Church is so demanding, and it just pull from you until you don't have anything else to give. But you never open your mouth and say anything, because you don't want to disappoint. You just don't want to fail, individuals. So my advice to all, and I'm thinking that some of the churches are beginning to realize that you need to take care of yourself. You need to go to the doctor. You need to make sure you have your physical, because I think a lot of pastors, they don't take care. They didn't take, especially in the old, they didn't take care of themselves. They didn't go to the doctor to find out, if they had high blood. They didn't take care of their diabetes. I can name about 4 of them right now that didn't take care of themselves when they were coming along trying to do ministry, and then trying to do gospel singing, and all of these things, and then it weighed on them, and then the disease began to take control over them, right? But now, we have to realize, hi, look at you, girl. How you doing? Miss Straight Talk, No Sugar. How you doing? And now I think that people are beginning to be more honest about, how they're feeling, and beginning to take true sabbaticals, right? And some that don't, it's like, when you don't do that, it's like you're a control freak. That's the way I see it. You're a control freak. You don't want to miss anything. You want to make sure that you have total control on what's going on in the ministry, and and not let your people, the leaders, do what they should be doing. But you want that total control. So what you're doing, you're not taking care of yourself, because you always going, want to always be, want to always just go, just go, right? But my advice again is to pull back. Go to the doctor, get a full examination. I'm talking about from the head to the toes. I'm talking about holistically. One other thing, we don't want to we don't want to take care of the mind, right? We don't want to take care of the mind. And that was my problem. Physically, fine. Physically, I'm good to go, right? But the mind is what was going right. And we don't want to take care of our mind. We always say, oh, I'm okay. I'm good. Everything is okay, right? But then when you get home, you and okay, this is I'm gonna be honest, y'all. That's what I was doing. When I got home, I would come in this room and I would just stay, because it was like my pure soul had been sipped out of me. This has been sucked out of me, right? And I had to find some kind of way to get it back, right? And the only way that I felt that I could get it back was to be by myself, right? And gain that strength back. And one other thing that I had with me is that I am a true introvert, y'all. I think I'm a little when it okay, I'm gonna say I am 99% an introvert, right? And that 1% comes out, my extrovert comes out when I have to, when it has to come out. Like if I had to get up and speak, it'll come out, right? Even like right now, this is my 1%, y'all. Now when I finish this, honestly speaking, I'm gonna hit that bed because I'm gonna be drained, right? So that 1% of my extrovert, it didn't suffice enough for ministry at the time, right? And when it do come out, it's just I am just, everything is just taken from me, right? And I have to go back and regroup. And a lot of people don't understand that. I was trying to do this thing on the Clubhouse. I could not get that thing together. I don't know why. I just could not get it together. But I was going to talk about introverts and extroverts, right? Because a lot of people don't really, and they put a name to it. I'm just going to say they put a name to it, but it has always existed, because I've always been an introvert, and would have to get by myself to get myself together, right? So we need to talk about these things. So that was another thing with me in the church, that I I could not get I could not get myself together, because the introvertness side of me was just it was it was bringing me down to the point that if I would have stayed, I would have had to get on some medication. And I don't think that you had to get on medication to bring myself back up, right? So I stopped. I left one Sunday, and then I called my husband, and I told him that I needed to go on a sabbatical. And I was supposed to have been going on a sabbatical for a little while, right? But it ended up being 4 years, 2018 until 2023. I guess that's 4 years, right? Or either almost 4 years, three and a half, somewhere in that, right there, right? And I never, I didn't. I went back to visit, so don't think I didn't go to church, right? I just wasn't. I just did not. I just did not do I just wasn't in a leadership role. I would go with my mother and just be there, and then just go back home with my mother, and just get myself together. I had to get myself to the point to build myself back up to go to church. And then it took me a while to even make up my mind to go back, because I did not feel like I was ready. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm just gonna be totally honest. with you. Even when I went back, it was like, you know how when you go back and you do things and you try to go, since you feel like that you've been rested up, right? You feel like you done rest yourself and that you're ready to go back and get back into the swing of things, right? And just move forward, right? It was like a sticker shock. It was just like a shock, to my body that, I it was like a if you guys ever seen when you used what is it, a fibrillator, that you put to your heart, when somebody's having a heart attack and you put to their heart and it just jump them, that's what it felt like. It's just like a big jump to me when I started, and I was up there. But now it feel like that I think I went too quick, either too fast, and it just seemed like now that I'm like I'm melting, I'm melting. I melted that I'm having a reaction, on it, thinking now, okay, did I go back too quick? Did I start working in there too quick? What happened, right? And I realized that that's the most important thing is when you realize that you have stepped in and you've moved too quick, right? And then you got to pull back a little bit. Got to pull back a little bit and make sure that you are right, right? Make sure that I'm all right. So I got to make sure, that I'm all right. And when I feel like that I'm all right, I'm just going to ease a little bit. I'm just going to ease on in. And I think that a lot of people need to begin to do that, start evaluating themselves and make sure that you're doing the right thing and that you're feeling good, you're healthy, in doing it, that your mind is not beginning to start tricking you into feeling like, oh yeah, you all right, you can do this thing, you can move in here, and you can move forward, and you can just keep going. And and then I'm going to say this. A lot of people say um a lot of people say that you don't have faith, right? It don't have anything to do with having faith about what you know and how you know you are, how you know that you function, right? It has nothing to do with having faith. It has nothing to do with having faith, because I have faith. I have tremendous faith, but I also have common sense. I also have common sense to know when I'm not feeling up to par on doing certain things, right? So I think that you need. I don't think I need. I don't know why I always say that. I know that you need to always read your body. You need to always know when you feel like that you're having a meltdown, and then people need to understand what a meltdown is. It's not meltdown is. It's not always that you're going to be hollering and screaming and acting like you just going, out of your mind, or how some people have seizures and they just out of control. It's not always like an out of control thing, right? It's just that you just feel a totally different way than what you would normally feel, right? And it just feeling like that you just sinking into this endless hole that you just can't find no stairs or nowhere to rope to like pull yourself back up, right? That's what it feel like, right? And I don't feel like that I am a lot of people would consider, you being you like going, out of your mind. But I know I'm not going out of my mind. I just know that I need to slow down. I need to slow down, and I need to be able to evaluate Diane and know and begin to take care of her, take care of Diane. And that's what a lot of people need to do. You need to begin to take care of yourself. You need to, and then you need to be unapologetic about it. Again, a lot of times when you start thinking about doing things for yourself, people call it selfish, right? But you're not selfish. You are taking care of yourself to live a healthy life, to live a full life. I always like to say I always like to use Jill Scott's, to be able to live your life like it's golden, right? And the only way that you can do that is you got to really know you. You got to really know you and know what triggers you, and what and then what do you need to do to begin to bring yourself back, who God have designed you to be, right? And I do not believe that God make mistakes, right? I just believe that because we're all unique people, we're all designed in different ways, right? That what God has for me is for me, and what God has for you is for you. The way you function is the way God designed you to function, right? The way I function is the way that God designed for me to function. Just because you can just run on and just do without having any kind of like meltdown, without having any kind of like uh, mental what I want to call it, mental, I don't want to say breakdown, because it's not always a breakdown. It's a mental stop. I just want to say it like that, a mental stop. Everybody don't have it, or either people don't want to admit that they have it and stuff, but I admit that I have it. And I think and we need to always um, stop and think what brought it on, and why. Hey, Portia, sweetie, how you doing? To my cousin, I say hello, and begin to help yourself, right? Um, and then I'm glad you came on, Portia. I'm glad, because it made me think about, again, when I was young, that I used to have that same thing, and I would be sitting in the front of my grandmother's um, in front of my grandmother's house, and I would just be sitting there, right? And my neighborhood cousins, because we stayed on property where it was family, and then the ones that wasn't family, we thought they was until we were grown, right? And I would just sit there, and sometimes, and they would just be, the kids would be walking up the up and down the road, right? And I would just be sitting there, right? And then my best friend, I'll never forget her. She passed this year, Brenda Duncan. She would always come and sit beside me, right? And she said, "Girl, what in the world?" What in the world, right? And I would always tell her. She always understood. That's why I loved her. So she always understood, right? Okay. She always understood, and she would just sit there with me, right? She would just sit there with me, and then she said, "Okay, girl, it's over now. Let's go to the store and get some cookies or something," right? But she would always help me out when I would just like have that, that thing. I felt like that I was just overwhelmed, right? And sometimes it would just be school, because I had to do speech therapy and stuff. And she would say, "Girl, you all right. You're gonna get through that, right?" But it would mess with me, because I felt like that I was the only one, that was going, because I was the only one in that class. So I just felt like I was one. But then later on, I found out that I wasn't. But she was my heart. She would always bring me out and say, "You're gonna get through this. You're gonna be able to." What did she used to always say? "You're going to be able to get those STR words right." She would always tell me that. But one thing I never did, and I told her when I saw her last, I told her that, I said, "Brenda, I never got those STR words right. I never got them right." And she just started laughing and stuff. But she always was there, to help me, with that. So when we have those situations, I think that you should always recognize and just be honest with it, and be all right with it. Be all right that you have those things happen to you. And when you get into that environment, if you feel like you need to pull yourself back. And that's what I did when it came down to the church. I just pulled myself back, and now I think that I'm gonna have to uh, understand that I can't go fully. I'm still gonna have to pull myself back when I feel myself being being pulled in and not taking care of my mind. Going to a counselor, going to a psychiatrist, there's nothing wrong with that, guys. In our race, we got to realize that there's nothing wrong with laying on somebody's sofa. And I'm a counselor, and I have to lay on somebody's sofa every now and then. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that you just having a moment, and you just need somebody to talk to that's not in your family. You need a stranger to talk to. Tasha, what's up?
What's going on? Happy Monday to you. Hey, everybody. What's happening?
Hey, hey.
Woo, Lord, this today has been a day. I've been looking forward to this conversation, and then they're gonna call me and say, "Could you stay at extra long as I'm out of here by 7:30?" Yeah, yeah. I had to make that clear. Well,
I
what's
know
going
that.
on, everybody? How's everybody doing?
Everybody seems to be fine. We got some good viewers out there with us talking about some, you have something ringing.
What I got ringing?
I don't know.
Uh, you can't hear me?
Yep, go on mute and then do something. Turn something down. Yeah, you got something that's out there that's on. Okay, guys, in the comment while she get that together, in the comments, guys, if you have anything to say about it, and the topic is why did we leave church? It could be, again, like I said in the beginning, it could be your job, it could just be anything that you feel like you had to pull yourself back from it just to get yourself together. And it's all right, again, I just want people to understand that it's all right to have a, and again, I'm not gonna say a mental breakdown because it's not a mental breakdown. It's a mental awareness. Okay, God, yeah, that's good. A mental awareness. If you have that, there's nothing. I'm gonna write that down so I won't forget it. There's nothing, wrong with that. That's just taking care of who you are. That's taking care of you, so you could come back in a good form to be able to take care of what you need to take care of. And I'm telling you, jobs will stress you out. And even the job that I have, I'm a chaplain, and Portia, her mother, she went to another hospital, and I am really gonna get her. I'm gonna call her later on and stuff. But I would when I would go and visit her, and especially when I see people that I know, that's like a tug on me, right? So even being a chaplain, and the work that I have to do with the patients and with other people also, right? That's like a mental thing also that I have to. Sometimes I have to take the time to do. I'm going to use this one lady. I was reading her paper, and she said that. Do an evaluation on me, right? And do, like, check my blood pressure, check my pulse, check all of that stuff to make sure that I am mentally ready to go in and see a loved one of mine, somebody that I know. And when I went to see her, it was like, God just helped me, because I want her to be, all right. So when I do this job, sometimes I had to take that part of me out, and sometimes it don't work. So when I leave, then I got to get my mind right to even go to the other person. A lot of people don't want to deal with or want to admit stuff like that, but I have to truly do a check on myself. And again, and that comes with the church too, and that comes with just about every part, of your life, even raising your kids and stuff. You got to do a mental check and stuff. But again, leaving the church, leaving your job, leaving, whatever is in your life that you're having a time with. I think it all starts here. I think it all starts up here, and then start working down to do what it needs to do. Suffer with this but can't speak. And that's right, Portia. A lot of people do suffer. I'm gonna bring this up, Portia. So I'm gonna bring it up. I want to read it. She said, I love the transparency. So many people suffer with this but can't speak about it for the fear of being misunderstood and judged. It has been 7 years for me. When I visit, it feels great, but I know I can't start back going the way I did before. And you know what? And that's right. And that was one thing when I went to when I first went to school, back to school. That was one thing that I wanted to bring out, with our community, right? Because you're right, we it's a stigma on mental illness. And you know what? I hate that they put the illness on that, right? And I really hate that they say mental illness, right? Because I don't think that it's a true illness. I think that it's a situation at a time, in your life, right? Because I don't feel like that I'm mental ill. I think that I had a mental situation in my life, right? That kind of like sometimes might beat me down a little bit when I let it. No, 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 we didn't. No, we didn't. It just flowed into it. It just flowed into it. But I think that sometimes we put a stigma on it, and we should not put a stigma on it, because it do stop a lot of people from going to get some help, to going to talk to somebody about what you're going through in life. And that's what I did when I stopped, when left the church. I went back, and I got some help. I laid on somebody's sofa, to see what was going on, and why I was feeling this way, and why I was having this why I felt like the walls were closing in on me, right? And that's because, again, I wasn't taking care of myself. I just was not taking. I was just moving, 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 going, 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 trying to help my husband and make this ministry do what it needs to do, and never thought about Diane. Never thought about me. All I thought about was the ministry, making sure, the ministry, and going to school, and my family, and making sure nobody didn't look bad and stuff. And all alone, I was shrinking. I was shrinking. Like on the Wizard of Oz, when the witch was melting. I'm saying I was a witch, but I was just melting. I was just melting down, and stuff. And not a mental breakdown, but a mental. I had to have a mental awareness that I couldn't do all of that stuff. Couldn't do it all. I'm sorry, Tasha. Go ahead.
Well, can you? Is my sound a whole lot better?
Uh-uh. No. Uh-uh. I don't know what's wrong.
I'm gonna go out and then I'm gonna come back in.
Okay. 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 Yeah. So, Suzanne, no, the topic is still. I stepped away. No, the topic is still. It's still the same. It's just that when I talked about why, that was some of the reasons why, I stepped from the church, was to get my mind together, and get back on the road of recovery from being pulled and tugged and stuff. So, and then I got on to, and then I just started talking about, making sure that if you need to talk to a counselor, if you need to go to a psychiatrist, go. And that all the time, and I want to make this clear too. I said it earlier, but you don't always have to be medicated. I think a lot of people think that if you go to a counselor, to a psychiatrist or anything like that, that the next thing is medication, right? No, I don't. You don't. No, you don't. You don't always have to be on medication. Sometimes it's just that there's something that you need to say, and you just have to find the right person to say it to be released from whatever that traumatic thing maybe that has happened to you, and things. You need to say it to somebody, and you just haven't found that right person to say it to. And it could be that psychiatrist, or either that counselor that you need to talk to be able to get that thing out of you. And then it'll be like, to me, it'll be like a big relief. It'll be like a boulder off of your shoulder. And but the thing about it is that you got to do the upkeeping. You got to do the upkeeping on it, where you talking about, what you're going through. You talk about it, and don't let it just fester in you. When you let it fester in you, then that's when you start going down. You start going down. You start going. And for me, everybody is different, like I said. Okay, Tasha, you're not on mute, are you? Are
No,
you? Okay, good job. Now it's
something
good.
was going on maybe in my background on my phone. But hey, everybody, how's everybody doing again? We have to get this sound together. This is Tasha, aka TC Knows. No, I do not know everything, but I love sharing with you what I do know. So let's talk about this topic. Why we stopped going to church. And I'm gonna be very transparent, very raw,
Okay,
very.
it started again. I don't
It
know what's
started
wrong.
again.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh my gosh! I don't have anything else in here that could be making any sound.
yeah.
I don't know what it could be.
I don't know. I,
My, let me
I
check.
don't know. I don't
Let me
know.
see.
But again, guys, if you have a response, thank you guys for responding for responding to this. But I know that everybody have different opinion about, about going to church and, not going. But again, I'm going to say this here. I've been in church all my life, and I would dare not go to church, right? It's just that I just had to do I just had to work on me and get myself together, right? And but everybody have their different reasons, why they don't go to church, and things. Because I know some people that's out there that's not going. I know some of their reasons, and with their reasons, I agree with them, right? But I think that we all need to evaluate ourselves. I think we did a talk about that not too long ago, about why you even in church. Why do you even, go to church? And my thing was, when I just love going to church. I really like the singing. I like the word. My pastor could preach when I was coming up, right? And I love the word, and I love the fellowship. And then it was family and stuff, right? And I guess it was easier for me when I was coming up going to church, because it wasn't really like I wasn't leading anything or like that. I was just going and enjoying myself. But again, when you start going into that role of leading and stuff, it is a big it's a pretty big thing, right? And you think sometimes I think you put so much on yourself that you really shouldn't have to, put on you, right? And again, everybody have different opinions. This is just my opinion. That's why I put that disclaimer in the beginning. Everybody have their own opinion about what their reasons for going to church, and then their reasons for not going to church, stop going to church and things, right? But mine was to make sure that my mind was stable, right? And that I wouldn't lose my mind, right? And a lot of times, like Portia was saying, a lot of people won't talk about that side of going, to church and things, right? But it's there just like going to church. Is there just like you're working again, just like you're on your job, and your job is so stressful, right? And you feel like that you just bouncing from place to place, right? Not knowing, what's going on, with you. Need to step back. You need to step back and get yourself together. I would always, when I as being a chaplain, I speak with the nurses and some of the doctors and things too. I always have encouraging words, for them. And one of the things, I found this poem, and it talked about making sure, in your next time, making sure that you smell the daisies. Make sure that you make mistakes. It's all right to make a mistake and start all over again, right? But make sure that you smell and you pick the daisies, and you enjoy your life for the next time, right? Don't just always make your job like a thing that's gonna run you, and you don't run like yourself and take care of yourself, in your job. Enjoy the days, it smell. And that's what I do now on the job that I have now. And even when I was a program, I basically did the same thing too. But now I'm like that. I make sure that I check my vital signs. That's what I was trying to think of. When I go to the rooms, I always check my vital signs, just like they do, how you're in the hospital and they come in and take your blood pressure and take the bloods and all that stuff, right? I always do that to make sure that my mind is still, stable, and that I'm set right to be able to go in somebody's room. Because when you go in somebody's room, you got to make sure that your mind, right. And even in the church, you got to make sure that you take your vital signs there. And like I say, with me going back, that's what I do. I always make sure that I take my vital signs. And when they're not acting right, then I just slow my roll. I just make sure that I just bring myself down, and I just relax. Now you can't. It don't now. It don't bother me if you think that. If you say something to me because I'm sitting there enjoying myself and you think that I'm not and you try to force me to do it, don't bother me anymore because I got to take care of Diane. I got to take care of me and I'm going to relax myself. Because one thing, because I'm going to tell y'all one thing, God knows us, right? And all of us have different ways of praising God, right? Of worshiping God and the way we communicate with God. All of us have different ways, right? Everybody don't shout. Everybody don't shout. Some people could just sit and rock, right? So a lot of times you in church and they expect for you to do things that, I'm not going to do things the way you do it, right? And we're not robots. We're unique people. We're individual people. So don't let when you go to church, don't make people make you do things that you don't normally do, right? Because they want you to do it, right? Nah, God ain't pleased with that at all. He ain't pleased with it at all because that man you falling a man, right? You supposed to be able to worship God in spirit and in truth, right? Not because somebody else told you to do it. No, you do this because you're having this one-on-one communication with God, right? When you start doing that and you start really realizing that you're going to church not for the man behind the pulpit, but you're going to church to worship God, then I think our minds will be set right and that we can function better in the church instead of always making sure that we on our P's and Q's to do this and to do that. No, that's stressful. That mess your mind up. Tasha, say something. It mess your mind up. I'm telling you. Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
back.
Okay, look at you. You sound better. Okay, sound
I
good.
had to change devices. Maybe because my device was. But anyway, we ain't on here to talk about why my sound wasn't working right. I'm back now. Okay, so I was listening on the way home from work. Some of the things that you were saying and about one of the reasons that I believe that I think that you were stating why you stopped going to church, and you said that some people said some ugly things to you. I didn't catch whether or not they said them directly or indirectly, but they were said nevertheless. They were said. And you know what? Nobody said anything ugly to me. Not to me. Now they might have been talking behind my back in conversation with other people, but they haven't said it to me.
Mm-hmm.
They, in the beginning, and I'm a go back and I'm gonna just tell you there's one particular reason why I stopped going to church, and it was because I did not know myself outside of church. I knew myself only inside of church and how I operated and how I did things and how my character is and how my personality is. It was according to the church and how I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with me not knowing myself outside of church, it was, it was, to me, it didn't feel right. And I was going through some personal things, and I've been going, I mean, shoot, I've been going through personal things before while I was in church, but I kept going because of what I was taught directly and indirectly to continue to go. God is going to fix it. Just keep on praying. Just keep on praying, all that other kind of stuff. But still, something was not right. It's like I did not know myself. I did not know Tasha except for when I was only in church. So I said, well, I could stand to miss a few Sundays. I'm going to be all right with it. And I didn't tell anybody but my children. I didn't tell my mom. I didn't tell my siblings. And I just was like, I'm going on a hiatus. I'm going to be out for a while, you know. I mean, I didn't answer my phone. I wasn't on social media. I mean, I just was like to myself, working home. And when I started, I was in bed, I know, probably a month.
You say you was in
Yeah.
bed for a month.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I slept because I was in this depression, and the way that depression falls on me is that I sleep, 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 sleep. And so one day, because when my last Sunday in church last year, that's when it started, was in September. And so I was out. I wasn't working for a while, and not for nobody else, but for an employer. But just, and I wasn't doing anything that I was needed to do for myself, and I'm just being real and raw, because a lot of people are not going to say these things that I'm getting ready to say, and I'm not going to take up too much time. But I was barely doing what I needed to do in my home for my son, helping my daughter with my granddaughter, just a lot that I was just, going through, and I had to really process. And so me not going to church, and then one day my daughter says to me, she said, "Mom, you gonna get out this bed? You gonna sleep your life away? What you gonna do? You need to get up. You need to do something. I know you're not going to church. I know you're not on social media. I know you're not answering your phone, but you can't just sleep, 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 sleep." Of course, I ain't want to hear none of that, you know. And the first few Sundays, that first month, when I finally got myself together, because it felt weird to me, it was foreign not to be in church. Now I've heard it. One of my coworkers, she's somewhere else now, but works somewhere else. And she said, we were just having casual conversation. She was like, "Oh, if I got to be in church, I'm a minister. I got to be in church." And I'm looking at her like, and I started asking, "Well, why you got to be in church? Because you're a minister? Is that why you got to be in church?" But I didn't ask her. I just let her talk. She's like, "I can't stand missing church." And I realized that was me. I used to say that a lot. That I was like, "Oh, I can't miss church. I can't miss church. No, I can't miss church. And I ain't working no job that's going to have me working on a Sunday, because I ain't missing no church." I wasn't getting it. And so now I'm in this place where I'm getting to know myself, and I'm learning myself. And I did a reel a while back, and I said, "I never thought I'd hear myself say that I'm glad I'm not in church." I never thought I'd ever hear myself say that. But nobody has done anything wrong to me to not want me to go to church anymore. Nobody said anything wrong to me. Nobody's hurt me. Nobody's done none of those things. I just decided that I'm not going to go to church anymore. But people mistake now, Spirit Love, people mistakenly thought and said to me that I left God.
Ah. Mm-mm.
Yeah, they said that to me. A few people said that to me.
You
Even
don't.
even a couple of strangers that I didn't know said that to me. Said that I left God.
So the only place that we can get God is in a building. See, that's what I have a problem with, is that people think that the only place that you can get God is in a building. He's not confined. We always want to put God in a box. I think they take that scripture in Hebrews, not to forsake yourself with the assembly of the people. I think they take it too much. They take it out of context about it, and make it hurt people, right? And you shouldn't. I don't think you should use the word to hurt people, because they don't go to church, or they not in the church, or they don't. If you don't forsake yourself with the assembly, God people. If you do that, then you forsaking God. No, I don't believe that. I
I
don't
don't
believe
either.
that. I just don't believe that. I think that you should have a relationship with people, but I think when they use the word to bash, I don't want a relationship with you to bash God. I don't want that kind of relationship. I want a relationship that's going to show who God is, and show love, towards people, not bashing. I don't like the bashing thing.
Well, and you know what? I agree with you on that. And God is everywhere. And I agree with what Portia says. You are the church. You are the place where God can come and sup with. and commune with and have a conversation with. You don't always have to be in church. And so, and then a lot of things too that I realized that I just got sick of it. And I need to use my words carefully, but I just got sick of it. I just was tired of looking at it. And I'm like, I don't want to be here. And I started getting an attitude. I did. I started getting an attitude. And I was like, this is the wrong. And I realized some of the reasons too that I was still going to church was because of out of habit, tradition. And I am so against tradition when it comes to church. These traditions that the church still, the building, where people go to worship, they still do. And I'm like, well, why? And I was the type of person as I got older, because I couldn't ask these questions when I was young, because I probably would have got slapped in the mouth. Like, why are we doing it? Why are you wearing these white gloves when you do communion? Why? Why? I don't understand that. So it was just a lot of things that I realized now that I did because I was told I had to do it, and I didn't question why I had to do it because I was afraid of what would happen when I questioned certain things. So
Yeah.
now I'm very outspoken. And my daughter, I was telling one of my coworkers today, I said, y'all, my daughter told me I was mean. She's like, Mama, you mean. I was like, why would you say that? She said, because you don't care what you say. It's like when you come out of your mouth, it's like how you say it. And I'm like, well, I don't try to be mean. That's not my intentions. I don't want to hurt anybody. That's not my intention to hurt. I don't want to hurt people intentionally. That's not my aim. I don't want to do that. But I want to say what needs to be said. And I know you have, in order for a person to receive it, there's a way you have to say it. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. I get that. And there's just some things I'm just not going to tolerate. And I ain't going for it anymore. And I'm not going to go along with it. I'm not doing that no more. I'm not. And it's very bad in the church.
Yeah. But you know what? I understand now. Now we're talking about this before. Now I understand the traditions of the church, and some traditions are good, and
Mm-hmm.
some I think are not. And I now, when it come down to communion, I agree with communion is a sacred thing, and that you should have on gloves. You should respect God when it come down to the gentleness of his body. I always like to say that because he was a gentle soul, but the gentleness of the wine that from the blood representing the blood, and the bread representing the body. I would never take that part of the tradition away from the church, because it's a thing that's in the Bible where it tells us to do this always in remembrance of him, as a gift to us, right? And you never dismantle, the gift that God gave us through his blood and through his body, right? So, that tradition I'm in total agreement with. And then some people don't do communion, in that way, and that's their prerogative, right? You can do. That's why I say that everybody view things in different ways, and but but there are, like I say, now beating people with the word. Now I don't agree with that, but I wanted to say something about Bishop Abraham. How you doing? About what he said about he understand a lot of people have left the church. I believe it's your relationship with God and your obedience is obedience is better than sacrifice. That's right, bitch. To him of coming together as he called us to be in the building and come together in a unified spirit. The flesh always work. And I understand what he's saying on that, but I don't think that I don't think that it's all in the building, right? Because the reason why I say that, Bishop Abraham, because people worship the building. I guess that's what I want to say. People worship the building, and it's not about the building. It's about that other thing that you said in there. It's about the relationship. It's about
Mm-hmm.
your relationship with God. The building ain't got nothing to do with it. It's about your relationship that
Right.
you have with God. But people, want to always say, you got to come to church. You got to be in this building. You got to be in the forsake not yourself, and the saints of the people, and be in this building with them. But it's not about the building. We can have church outside in the yard, so I don't think that we should just always say, you got to come to the church. You got to come to the church. You got to be in this building and stuff, which is fine. I just think that we shouldn't beat people, in the head with that. And that's what I was saying, Bishop Abraham. I was saying, in that sense, and
Right.
to be unified in the spirit. And I understand what you're saying. The flesh always works, and it does. It work against what God is demanding us to do when it comes to worshiping Him in spirit and in truth. But again, it's not about the building; it's about the relationship that we have with God. So I understand what you're saying, now, Bishop. Thank you so much.
I want to respond to his comment as well because I have a question. I want to make sure that I'm understanding it as I read it. Um,
You
it
see
is
it?
about the relationship with God and your obedience to Him. Absolutely.
Do you want me
He
to bring
said,
it back up?
"Yes, please."
Let me see.
Of coming together as He called us to be in the building. Now, is He referring to Hebrews 10:25 when He says that?
Yeah, forsake not yourself. It's the
Okay.
simile of God. Yeah. Hmm.
Now, and then He says, and come together in a unified spirit. The flesh always work against the spirit. I'm not sure what He means by that.
When he, oh, did I see that part? The flesh always work. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I don't see it on the thing.
Yeah, He
Oh,
says,
okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't read all of it. The flesh always work against the spirit. When we don't have a understanding of something, we are sure to fall off. And that's in what he's saying, Bishop. Make sure that I'm saying it right. Okay. What I'm thinking he's saying is that when we don't understand the word of God, we are sure to fall off. And when I talked about, forsake not yourself in the simile of God, and not throwing it, not always just throwing it at people, right? To say, you got to be in this building, you got to be in this building. Not to say that not to come to church. I'm not saying that, right? What I'm saying is that you don't always have to be in a building, but people will take that and they'll run with it and fall away from God and say, well, I don't have to be in this building. I don't have to be in this building, right? But and I think it might be, you might think I'm not contradicting myself. I'm just saying, don't always think that you always have to be in this building, right? That you can worship outside. We used to have tent revivals, and stuff. So don't make people think that, yeah, if you don't come in this building, you don't have God. But it's not about the building, it's about your relationship. That's why I'm glad he put that first. It's about your relationship with God.
right. So
Yeah.
then He says, I use the building to indicate that we are the church
Yeah, we are. See, Portia
gather.
said that. Portia said that on the bottom right there. We are the
Right.
church. I use the building to indicate that we are the church together. Yeah, that's right. Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is that you, Bishop? Okay, yeah, yeah. We are. Wait a minute. I use the building to indicate that we are the church together. Like we should gather together and be together. Like the scripture that I was saying, Bishop. Like forsake not yourself. That we should assemble it together. That we should be together, unified as one. Is that what you're saying? I just want to make sure. I don't want to say something that you're not saying.
I mean, I'm glad he brought that point up
That we
because
are
that's
the
the
church and we gather because we are the church. Okay, because we are the church, we gather together. Okay, I got you, Bishop. Use the building to indicate that we are the church together. Yeah, yeah.
right.
And we are the
So
church because of what Portia, because Portia said that we are the church, but we gather together as one because we are the church. It's not the building, we're the church. That's what we need to understand. Got you, Bishop. I overstood. I understood. We are the church building, and according to the scriptures, God dwells within us. That's right. That's right, Portia. We bring the church to the building. Thank you, Bishop. That's right. Yeah. Okay. but it's not about the building. It's not about the building. That's why I keep telling people, for say we always say you got to come, to the building, but no, it's really not about it, because we can fellowship, we bring the church with us. We can have service outside, in the yard, right? So don't worship this building and think that it's this is the thing that's bringing us to God, because it's not. What's bringing us to God is the relationship and what we have inside. We're the church, and we unite together and we fellowship together as one, right? We're the ones. We're the ones that do it. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm, but
I
that
got you,
I'm
Bishop.
glad you
Thank
brought
you.
that up, because that scripture was
Yeah.
said to
Thank you,
me
boys.
on multiple occasions, and I'm like, okay, but in that scripture it says, not forsaking our own assembling together, and it said nothing about gathering in a building.
Yeah,
It,
that's why he
right,
explained it in that way, because it's not about the building. It's about
right,
us. We're the church. And that's what I was saying. We're the church.
right,
I didn't see, because when he did the first one, I didn't see the whole thing on that first comment that he sent in, right? But we're the church. It's not about the building, because we're the church. We assembly together. Like if we decide to have, again, I keep using this example, but if we decide to have uh, church outside in our yard, it's not. It's us. It's the people that's assembling together. It's all about us and our relationship with God, because we're the church. We're the ones that, when it says that God is coming back for his church without a spot or wrinkle, he come back for no building. He don't need no building. He's coming back for us, right? So forsaking the self to assembly with God's people, with the people, not the building, with the people.
right. And it also says too, as
Thank you,
is the
Bishop.
habit of some.
Say it again.
It says, as is the habit of some.
What's the habit? You got to read the other part. Don't read just that part. What did it?
No,
What
no,
did it
no.
say?
I already read it. I read it. I said, not forsaking our own assembling together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and
Right,
all the more as you see the day drawing near.
right.
So, and so there's a lot of people. So when these individuals brought the scripture to me, and I'm like, I'm just listening to what they're saying. The the point is, the reason why I stopped going to church wasn't because, again, I stopped going inside the building. It's because I wanted to get to know myself outside of that building that I went to every Sunday to worship and fellowship with other believers. So when I did that, I realized that I had a lot of processing to do, a lot of processing. And even when being away from church, it was so foreign to me, so foreign. Like, I feel weird. I felt good, but I felt weird because I wasn't in church, because I was so used to going. And so when I got past that weird stage, that weird place, and let me just like I said, I'm being transparent and raw. Even when I was out of church, I didn't pray, I didn't read the word, I didn't study, I didn't do none of those things, because I'm backing up and looking at it from a different view. And some people were saying to me, I miss you. I miss your spirit. The way you worship God, the way you dance before the Lord, and the way you just open spirit love. I'm a radical praiser. You've been knowing that for quite some time. Got a little bit more radical as I got a little older. Went through some more stuff. But So now I'm starting to just really see and understand, because I've had moments even before church. I was telling Destiny, I said, because we came across the I don't know whether it was on TikTok, IG, or what, but you remember Bishop Gilbert Patterson?
Yeah, from the coach.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So a clip, but he was preaching, and I would tell Destiny, I was like, honey, I said, me, mama, and I was, my mom's sister. I said we would always listen to him before, like as we was getting ready to go to service. And then after that, Dr. Bobby Jones would come on. Bobby Jones gospel. If you listen to that. So we were having our communion and our worship and our moment with God prior to going to service.
Yeah.
And so that happens a lot. So when a person that, individuals are used to seeing in church, and they just stop,
Mm-hmm.
that messes with them, because they're like, what the heck happened? And so that's when that particular scripture started, flying at me from these individuals. So I'm like, yeah, no, I've experienced this all of my life, but I was still going to church and still at home. Even when I wasn't in the building, I still had my time with God outside, from apart from the building. So it's coming along. But like you said, like I've been back to Bible study since then in this last 7 months. And I've actually went on Easter. And I felt like the other people. The other people like that never go to church or hadn't been in church in years, and Easter comes or Mother's Day come and you go because you want to be with your family. I felt like them. I was like, oh shoot. I felt so out of place. And I felt weird. I was like half clapping. This is crazy. But
But you know what?
huh?
That's that last part that Bishop Abraham said about, when you don't go to church, that you begin to fall. You begin to fall by the wayside because you begin to get used to not being under the unction of God, meaning the anointing of God, right? And you start falling on the wayside because you start not reading, you start not praying, and I don't think nobody can ever stop praying because you always praying. You may not have a,
Yeah.
a form of prayer, but you always praying, right? So that's what he meant by that when you're not fellowshipping with the saints, that the flesh begin to take over and you begin to fall on the wayside and stuff. Now, when, like I said earlier, with me, I didn't stop going to church. Now I went to church, but I just wasn't in a leadership role. I was just going I was just going to church. But you do find yourself doing that. Seed was being planted. You had to experience God for yourself, and that's right. And that's right. And
Whoa,
that's
whoa,
what
whoa. Go
you do.
back. I want to understand who was this? Is this Bishop
Bishop
Abraham said that?
Abraham. Yeah.
He said seed was planted. I
Seed
want
was
him.
being
I would like for him to
planted. You
elaborate on
had to
that.
experience God for yourself. She said she wants you to elaborate on that, Bishop.
Yeah, cause I ain't no first time, but this ain't something that
No, I don't think he mean that. I don't think he mean because he know that we church people. He know that. Well, he know that I've been in church all my life, and
Me too.
you've been in church all your life. So sometimes and tell me if I'm wrong, Bishop, that we have always had a seed in us, right? That it's not like we can truly now. No, maybe not. Well, I know I can't. I'm gonna speak for myself. I can't truly like fall off and never go to church. I'm just that's just not instilled in me because it's always been a seed in me to always be, in somebody's church getting the word of God, right? So, but even though you've been in church all your life, that don't mean that you truly experience God.
Right.
You I can be because I didn't really. It took me. I was 20. I've been in church all my life, and I was 20. I think I was 22 might have been 22, getting ready to be somewhere around in there. And I didn't even know the difference between God and Jesus. I was like, who in the world? I said, this man preaching about God all the time. And then all of a sudden he started talking about Jesus. What in the world? Right? And so I had to get my mentor to tell me, I asked, I said, I want to be truly, you know, under God's wing, right? That's what I said to her, right? So I need to know the difference between, the Trinity. I need to know about the Trinity, right? And she, she had to explain it to me because I didn't understand, that thing. So when he say that, okay, the seed has always been there in me. I've always been a church person, right? But I didn't truly start experiencing God for myself until I was in my 20s to really know who God was and what he can do for me in my life. And it took Reverend Vernell Lies to tell me that even though even though I was in church every Sunday, I never missed a Sunday in church. Even if I went out, when I graduated and I was on doing my thing, and if I went out clubbing Sunday morning, I was in church. It didn't matter. Wednesday, I was in Bible study. I made sure that I was in church, but I didn't know God. I didn't know God for myself until I had somebody to explain him. So I'm thinking he mean that. Is that what you mean, Bishop? That
Yeah,
you
because
can
I
go.
didn't experience God, and I wasn't in the church building, per se. The bit where I wasn't in the my real experience.
What you didn't understand, and God would bring it to life. Yep, that's it. That's what you mean. You see it?
Oh, when I was initially, like when I was growing up,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And you was listening to him, but you hadn't truly experienced nothing. And that's what I was saying about with me. Been in church
Hmm.
all my life, but I didn't truly. I was listening to pastors and listening to gospel songs, going to sing and singing these gospel songs like I didn't know what I was singing because I didn't know what I was singing about. But then, when you get into that, when you finally get that relationship with God and you really know, you can't really like you really can't swear away. You know how Dennis Dennis was telling, he was saying, I just don't like church. I ain't going to church. You don't have to go to church to experience. And he'll come on here and he'll say that too, because he used to say that, right? But Dennis ain't never stopped going to church because the seed is in him, right?
Hmm.
And he's experienced God, but sometimes we have this something happened to us, right? And we'll have this other part of us to say, I've experienced this in church, and I don't even deal with church like that, right? But it's so instilled in you that you can't stop going to church, or you can't never stop that God feeling, that God experience in you. You can't never stop that. Like when I stopped going, I did not stop going to church. I just like, I had to go. I'm like, I had to be in somebody's, listen to somebody during COVID. I made sure that I listened to somebody. But it's not like I'm saying I ain't never going to church again, and not like that. No, I can't do that because I've had an experience,
Yeah.
with God. And I know that I can't I can't do this thing on my own. I can't make it on my own, because if I did, I would have lost my mind. You understand what I'm
Right.
saying? So it's not like I don't I left church. When I say when we say this with me, my opinion, why did I leave church? It wasn't that I left God, because I ain't gonna never leave God, right?
Mm-mm.
It was that
Right.
it was for my benefit, for me to get healthy again mentally. I had to get healthy again, right,
Right.
from what I had experienced. Like with Dennis, when I was talking about Dennis had experienced something, so he was like, I ain't going, this church thing ain't, just going on and on. But he can't stop going to church because that seed has already been planted in him,
Right.
and it just can't, it won't go away. And the same way with me, that seed has been planted, and it's not going nowhere.
Right.
But you can take yourself away from the experience that you were going through, so you can heal yourself.
Right.
And even with Bishop, I don't know, I don't know, but sometimes, and I know that he probably have had that experience too, where he was in a certain place, and then he had to move from that place to be healed, and go into another area in his life. So we all experience, we all have our different opinions on why we move from one place. Not just like with Suzanne when she was talking about the church that she always wanted to be in, which was New Birth. She always wanted to be in. Then she had an epiphany about arrogancy that was in there, and she had to move away, from that to get herself back together because she can't figure out how did I fall into this situation? Me of all people. How did I fall in that situation? And she had to move herself out of there so she could be healed from what she had experienced.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we go through in life. And not saying that you went through anything from where you were, but something had to make you say that, okay, I got to pull myself up out of here. And I got to
Yeah.
do something for me. I got to find out who I am and where God desires for me to go in this anointing that He had placed on me. I got to figure where He needs, for me to go
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't lost myself in this building. I
Right.
lost myself in the building, right? I didn't lose myself in God. I just
Right.
lost myself in that building. But
Absolutely. Well, this gonna have to be a part two, cause hun,
yeah,
this is a excellent conversation. I appreciate Bishop was
Abraham.
Abraham for sharing his comments and his thoughts with us.
Yeah,
But that is, and I ain't gonna lie. There are times where I do miss going to fellowship and worship and praise and assemble with the believers, with church family. I do miss that at times. And but when I do go, I feel weird. I feel like out of place. I feel like it's hard for me to just like, because I'm used to I'm very active when it comes to um clapping my hands, waving my hands, getting, into, just I'm not the type of person to just come in and just sit there with my hands beside my hands by my side. That's not me. So the times that I did go, I'm just like sitting there looking and like, mm. And I'm like feeling like people, like those individuals that I had thought about, like, dang, how can they not go to church? Like, what is wrong with them? And that's how I thought about those individuals that was not going to church or hadn't been in years. And so now that I'm in this place and I'm only 7 months in, but it's just like when I go, I'm like, dang. And I'm just being honest. That's just the way I feel. And I know all these holidays, Mother's Day coming up, and I'm like, ugh. And see, now I'm in a place where, I work on Sundays, and I'm fine with that. It's like, I ain't missing nothing. You know, I'm at
yeah,
work. I got to go to work. And there was a time you couldn't catch me working in no job on Sunday because I was like, I
yeah.
got duties at church. I can't go. I got to be in church. I can't work on no Sunday.
Yeah,
And
I
so,
was doing I was doing that too, but I made up in my mind. But I was still going to church. But I made up in my mind that my love for God was much more than what this job was, and that I know that He would bless me, overly and above, if I did not work on Sundays, right? I just really and truly touch. I'm just going to be honest with you, entire Facebook family. When I got my mind when I got the load off of my mind and the heaviness from church and thinking that I had to do all of these things, my whole mindset just changed. And again, like I say, I never left God. I never would say that, I'm not ever gonna go to a church, right? To fellowship with the saints, right? But I just had this mind thing, right? My mind, I just couldn't get my mind together, right? On things that were said and things that were done, right? But when I was at work one Sunday, and I just said, I told my coworker, I said, you know what, this is my last time working on a Sunday. I said, I'm not going to do this again because, again, like I said earlier, God has done so much for me. I need to be somewhere worshiping Him, even though I could worship Him Monday through Saturday. It didn't matter, right? But I just felt like that I needed to be, with other people, to help me with this thing that was going on, in my mind, right? And I just stopped. I said no. I told my supervisor I wouldn't work on the weekends ever again, and stuff. And it has been. And I'm gonna tell y'all. A lot of people say, "Well, no, that don't do." And I'm gonna tell y'all, I have made more. And it's not really all in the money, but I'm just gonna say this: I have made more money than I have working almost every weekend, just working 5 days a week, right? So it's not that for just because you know you, you don't want to be in the building. It's just because you want to be you just want to fellowship with God and just be a part of God. And again, like I said, you can do it Monday to Friday, Monday to Saturday, but still, it's a difference when you up in the building with other people, right? Now, once you go back, like you say, when you do go back, you are gonna feel a different way, right? Because you done been through some. I have these last 4 years, I have been through a transformation. That's what I want to say. Been through a transformation. Now, what I do now, I think that when I go back, that I've gone back, that I don't think people really realize like what kind of transformation I had. And then I just don't think it's time to really say exactly, what happened. I did say that I had to get my mind right or I would have lost my mind, but exactly what happened, during this time that I was gone, right? And like Bishop said right here, that God's love never changes. Just remember your purpose for being there and worship Him, right? And I pulled that up because it made me think about that when I told my supervisor that I would not work the weekends again, right? That I had to really be reminded about, what my purpose was, right? And not to even worry about the stares, not to worry about, what somebody might say, and all of that stuff, and how I'm gonna feel when I do go back and stuff like that. When I walked up in that building, all of that stuff, it didn't even it didn't even phase me. I just walked up in there like I was God.
Well,
With
it
a
made
little G.
because some
With
people
a
just
little
look
G.
at you, and
Uh,
I'm like,
yeah. Yeah. But I just, with a little G, because I remembered that. And thank you, Bishop, for that, because I really thought about that when I told my supervisor that I wasn't coming back, that God's love never changed, regardless of what I was feeling, what my thoughts was, what was going through my mind, or anything like that for those years, right? God, even though it was like, now nobody really said anything to me, but some of the members in church would call me and want to say some negative things, stuff, right? But it didn't really phase me, right? Because my family, my boys supported me. Now, my husband, he didn't really say anything, not really, not really. But he said a little piece, right? But he let me do let me go through the phase. But when I thought about that, that regardless of where I am in this phase in my life, that God's love never changed while I was going through that. But I still had to remember my purpose and worship Him anyway. And it ain't always a shout, and it ain't always a holler and worshiping Him.
right,
It's
exactly.
just a reminder of who God is, and know that He's sorry, that He could do any and everything but fail. And that's what he did. Thank you so much, Bishop. I thank you. You're gonna have to come on my show one day. I like that. You're gonna have to come on here and talk one day with us. because I really like that. I like what you said. You and Portia, thank you, Portia, and all of the other ones that was out there making comments, guys. Y'all, thank you so very much for coming out and being with us tonight. We went over because normally I'm in the bed at this time. I'm just gonna be honest with you, But
Me too.
why did we leave church? And again, y'all, we have all had some things, and you can't and don't just be honest about your church experience and things that we have all had something to go on in our lives. Hey, Miss Sherry, I love you too. In our life when it come down to church, but know that, as Bishop Abraham said, that regardless of what you go through in life, that God love never changes. God loves
Right.
you. God never changed. He's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. That's what he is, right? And to remember our purpose, that we're the reason why that God has made that God has anointed us, for his people. Remember that. Remember what our job is for God's people, because that's who it's about. God. It's about God and the job that he's given us for his people, and just worship him anyway for allowing us to do his bid. Okay. But guys, thank you so very much for coming out. And just think about, again, just think about that. And the next time we come on, if you just want to say something about it, just say it. And you can continue to comment on this and go back and listen to the replay, because I really enjoy talking about this tonight, because it helped me, because I was beginning to spiral just a little bit there. When I go to church, Sunday, I'm gonna be built up, because you guys have helped me, a lot with your comments, listening, because some people have gone through the same things, and we have to realize that we're not the only one that's going through anything. But know again that we have a Father who can.
That's
Okay,
right.
Tasha.
That's right. Well, hey, I appreciate the comments. I thank you so much. And
Okay.
it will be a wonderful thing to continue this conversation. If we have a part two, that would be excellent. Because then that we can get Bishop Abraham's
Yeah.
perspective on it as well. We can get more of his thoughts, and I will, that would be good if we can invite a couple of people on with us to talk about their perspective. The other person I'm thinking of is Quan. She, yeah,
Whoa.
yeah, like whoa, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's but I'm gonna tell you this, I'm gonna share this to you with you. Oh, I'm having a ball. When I tell you, I'm having a ball. I'm having a ball. I love it. I used to feel guilty when I would go, out of town, something like that, and then, come back on a Sunday. I would feel guilty, and I'd be like, dang, I know what they're doing it this time. I know what they're doing it this time. I know what they're doing it this time.
Mhm.
But now it don't cross my mind at all.
And Tasha, it's good to have again, I like the difference of opinion, because then you can have it on both perspectives, right?
Yeah.
That we're not all saying the same thing, because it's not a good show when we all saying the same thing. It's good when we have different of opinions, because listeners have different of
Yeah.
opinions about church, and about different things, other things that we talk about. So we have to make sure that we have a even flow for all people. So Miss Sherry said that we need to have a part two, and Bishop said that he's looking for the. Okay, I'll look for the invite. So when we had a part two, we will let you know, Bishop, so you could come on and give your perspective on church. Because a lot of people have, since the pandemic, a lot of people have stopped going. Even before the pandemic, guys, to be honest with you, people had stopped going to church, and a lot of times it's because of it's so demanding
Yeah.
of you, right? And then a lot of times it's because of what some of the speakers are doing and stuff, and people feel like that if you're doing it, then why do I have to come to church and stuff? But it's a combination, of a lot of things. But I think that we should weigh the good as well as the bad, as in going to church. But as for me, you know I enjoy going to church, and it don't matter who church it is. I'm gonna come. Like I say, my 4 years, I was in a mixture. I was in a rainbow of churches, and I enjoyed each and every last one of them. So, guys, again, thank you so much for coming out. Be looking for the invite, Bishop. We'll let you know when our part two is coming for why did we leave church? Okay, why do? Maybe we might change the title. We'll have it and then put a subtitle up under it for part two. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sounds good.
My name is again Spirit Love. I love you guys, and there's nothing that you could do about it but love me back, guys. Please know that God is love and that His love never changes for us. Amen.
Well, my name is Tasha, aka TC Knows. No, I do not know everything, but I love sharing with you what I do know. Thank you so much for allowing me to share with you my reasons of why I left. I don't go to church anymore. Didn't leave like people think I left. I still love God, still love Him, still love Him, still love Him. But yes, there will be a part two, and I'm so excited about that because it's going to be an interesting conversation. Thank you, everybody. We love you. We hope you have a good night. And look for part two coming soon.
All righty. Bless you too, Bishop, and have a blessed night. Love you guys.
Later.